There is a feeling you may not talk about, a quiet sense that something is missing. Not always loud, not always painful, but it is there, especially in the still moments. You have felt this, haven't you? Maybe late at night, when everything is quiet, and you are lying awake, and something inside you feels incomplete, but you cannot explain why. Or during the day, when everything seems fine on the outside, but inside there is a distance, a kind of disconnection. This feeling can be confusing. You might think something is wrong with you, that you are ungrateful, or lost, or broken in some way. But stay with me. The mystics knew something most people never realize. This feeling is not a failure. It is a signal, not the end, but the beginning of something deeper. They understood that this quiet emptiness is like an echo in a vast inner space, an echo that is calling you, even if you do not yet understand what it is saying. The problem is not that you feel this. The real problem is that you have been taught to ignore it, to distract yourself, to move past it, to fill it with noise. But what if this feeling is not meant to be filled? What if it is meant to be listened to? Let that sit for a moment, because what feels like confusion may actually be a call, a very subtle call, not loud, not dramatic, but persistent. It shows up when you try to be still. It shows up when you try to pray and your focus slips away. It shows up in those quiet gaps where nothing is happening, but something feels unsettled. You might even feel uncomfortable in silence, as if something beneath the surface is trying to come through, and you are not sure you want to face it. But the mystics knew this is where the path begins, not with certainty, but with a kind of restlessness. Ibn Arabi pointed towards something very simple but very deep. He taught that every longing is a form of being called. Think about that. Every longing, even the ones you do not understand, even the ones that confuse you, they are not random. They are not meaningless. They are invitations. You are not just feeling empty. You are being pulled towards something you cannot yet see. This is why distraction feels so necessary sometimes, because when the noise fades, the call becomes clearer, and that can feel uncomfortable, because it is unfamiliar. But this is not a punishment. It is an invitation, not a sign that something is wrong, a sign that something is opening. The lovers of God understood this deeply. They did not run from this feeling. They leaned into it. They listened, even when they did not fully understand, and slowly what felt like emptiness began to reveal meaning. But here is where it becomes even more important to understand something. The feeling you have is not just about your emotions. It is not just about your thoughts. It is connected to something much deeper. Because reality itself is not as simple as it appears. We are taught to see life as flat. What you see is what is there. What you feel is just chemistry. What you think is just reaction. But the great master taught something very different. He taught that existence unfolds in layers, in levels, in presences. Let us go deeper. Imagine the ocean. On the surface, you see waves, constant movement, sometimes calm, sometimes chaotic. That is how most people experience life. They live on the surface, reacting to what happens, feeling whatever comes, thinking whatever arises, and believing this is all there is. But you already know, this is not the whole truth. You have had moments where you reacted strongly and later realized there was something deeper behind it, a hidden reason, a quiet wound, a deeper meaning. You saw the wave, but then you sensed the ocean beneath it. This is important, because it means you are already touching something beyond the surface, even if you do not realize it. The Sufis knew what you experience on the surface is real, but it is not complete. There is always something beneath it, something shaping it, something calling through it. And most people never turn their attention there. They stay with the waves. They try to control them, fix them, escape them. But they never ask, what is beneath? And this is where everything begins to change. Because the feeling you started with, that quiet sense that something is missing, it is not coming from the surface. It is coming from deeper within the ocean of your being. It is a sign that you are ready to see more, not with your eyes, but with your awareness. There is more to your experience than what you immediately see, more to your thoughts than what they say, more to your emotions than what they show. And the great master pointed toward this hidden depth again and again. He did not offer simple answers. He offered a map, a way of understanding reality not as one flat surface, but as a series of presences, layers you move through, often without realizing it. And once you begin to see this, you cannot unsee it. But we are just at the beginning. Because if reality has layers, if your experience has depth, then the question becomes, where are you within it? And what lies beyond the surface you have been living on? Stay with me, because this is where Ibn Arabi's hidden map begins to unfold. So now we begin to look at this more clearly. If reality has layers, then where do we start? We start with what is most obvious, the outer world, what you can see, touch, and react to. This is where most of life happens. You wake up, you move through your day, you speak to people, you respond to situations. Everything feels immediate. Something happens, and you react. This is the surface, like waves on the ocean, constant movement, always changing. The Sufis knew this layer is real. It matters. It is not an illusion to be rejected, but it is not complete. The problem is not that we live in the outer world. The real problem is that we think this is all there is. So we become trapped in reaction. You rush through your day. You respond quickly. Someone says something, and you feel something immediately. There is no space, no pause, just movement, wave after wave. And when life feels overwhelming, you try to control the waves, fix the situation, change the outcome. But the waves keep coming, because the surface is always moving. And if you stay only here, you will always feel unstable. This is why that deeper feeling never goes away, because the surface cannot satisfy what is calling you from beneath. So let us go one layer deeper. Behind every outer experience, there is something else happening. The inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your interpretations. This is the second presence, and it shapes everything. Two people can experience the same moment and feel completely different things. Why? Because of what is happening inside, because of meaning. Ibn Arabi pointed toward this clearly. He showed that the inner world is not separate from reality. It is a bridge between what you see and what you do not yet see. Think about a simple moment. You are in a conversation. Someone says something. Immediately, you feel something rise inside you. Maybe anger, maybe hurt, maybe defensiveness. The outer event is small, but inside, something moves. Now here is the key. Most people believe that feeling is the truth. They say, this is how I feel, so this is what is real. But the mystics knew, this is not the deepest layer. This is still movement, like clouds in the sky. They appear, they shift, they pass. Your thoughts are like this. Your emotions are like this. They come and go, but you are not just the movement. You are not just the reaction. And when you begin to see this, something subtle changes. You begin to notice your inner world. Instead of being completely lost in it, you start to see your thoughts as thoughts, your emotions as emotions, not as absolute truth. This is a quiet shift, but it changes everything, because now there is a small space, a gap, and in that gap, something deeper begins to appear. The Sufis knew this inner world is important, but it is not the final destination. It is a doorway, a bridge. You are not meant to stay trapped in your thoughts or defined by your emotions. You are meant to move through them towards something more stable, something more real. And this is where the turning point begins, because beyond the outer world, beyond the inner world, there is another presence, the presence of the heart. Now, when we say heart, do not think only of emotion. This is not just feeling more deeply. It is something else, something quieter, more stable. The lovers of God understood this. They knew the heart is a kind of sanctuary, a place within you that is not constantly moving, a place that can recognize truth without needing to analyze it. You may have touched this before, even if only for a moment. A quiet pause in the middle of everything, when something feels deeply true, but you cannot explain why, or a moment when you are overwhelmed, and suddenly there is a stillness underneath it, not created, not forced, just there. That is not the mind, that is not emotion. That is the beginning of the heart, and this is where the journey changes direction. Up until now, everything has been about reacting and interpreting, outer events, inner responses. But here, something else becomes possible, not reacting, not analyzing, but sensing, being. The great ones would say, this is where you begin to taste something real, not through effort, but through presence. And this is why the earlier feeling you had matters so much, because it was guiding you here, toward this deeper center. You are not meant to stay on the surface. You are not meant to be lost in every thought and feeling. You are being invited into the heart. But to enter this space, something must shift. You cannot bring all the noise with you. You cannot enter the sanctuary while holding on to every reaction. There has to be a letting go, a softening, a willingness to see without immediately reacting. And this is where the next step begins, because once you begin to touch the heart, a new ability starts to awaken, the ability to witness, not just experience, not just react, but to see clearly. And this is where everything opens in a completely different way. Stay with me, because now we are moving from understanding into direct awareness. Now something begins to shift in a deeper way, not outside, not even just inside, but in how you relate to everything you experience. Because once you begin to touch the heart, a new space opens, the space of witnessing. This is subtle, but stay with me. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. You are not your emotions. You are the one who feels them and can notice them. This is the presence of witnessing. The mystics knew this well. They did not try to destroy their thoughts. They did not fight every emotion. They learned to see clearly, gently, without getting pulled into every movement. Think of the sky. Clouds pass through it. Some are light, some are heavy, some bring storms, but the sky remains, unmoved, open, vast. Your thoughts are like those clouds, your emotions too. They come, they go, but something in you remains, and that something is closer to who you really are. You have felt this before, maybe in a moment of anxiety, when instead of being completely consumed, you suddenly noticed it. You saw the anxiety instead of becoming it, or when your mind was racing, and for a brief second, you stepped back and watched the thoughts. That small distance, that quiet awareness, that is witnessing. The problem is not that thoughts appear. The problem is that we immediately identify with them. We say, this is me. But the mystics would gently say, no, This is something passing through you. And when you begin to see this, you are no longer trapped in every wave. You begin to rest as the ocean beneath. This is not something you force. It is something you notice again and again, in small moments, during the day, during prayer, in the middle of restlessness. You begin to see instead of immediately reacting. And this opens the door to something even deeper. Because once you can witness, you can return. Return to what? To remembrance. Ibn Arabi pointed toward this again and again. He showed that the heart becomes alive through remembrance, not through effort, not through struggle, but through returning. You see, the mind forgets constantly. It gets lost in thoughts, in worries, in distractions, but the heart remembers. Even when you feel distant, the heart still carries a quiet memory of something real, something whole. Remembrance is simply turning back toward that. It can be very simple, a quiet repetition of a name of God, softly, not forced, not mechanical, or even just a moment of awareness where you pause and remember. I am not alone. There is something deeper here. You might be in the middle of stress. Your thoughts are scattered. Your emotions are pulling you in different directions. And then you remember, even for a second. And something softens. This is not imagination. This is return. The Sufis knew remembrance clears the heart, like a mirror covered in dust. The more you remember, the clearer it becomes. Not perfect, not suddenly transformed, but gradually, quietly, it begins to reflect something real. You start to feel less scattered, less divided, more gathered within yourself. And over time, something else begins to appear. A quiet sense of nearness, not something dramatic, not overwhelming, just a subtle feeling that you are not far, that what you have been searching for is not distant. The great master taught that all of these presences, the outer world, the inner world, the heart, the witnessing, the remembrance, they are not separate paths, they are movements within one reality, and they all lead to the same place: nearness, return. You were never completely cut off, you were never truly separate. It only felt that way, on the surface. But beneath the waves there is stillness. Beneath the noise there is a quiet presence. And that presence has always been with you, even in your confusion, even in your restlessness, even in those nights when you felt something was missing. It was not absence, it was distance in perception. And now, slowly, that distance begins to close, not through force, but through seeing, through witnessing, through remembering. You take a breath, and something feels different, not because the world changed, but because you are no longer only on the surface. You have touched something deeper, and that depth brings a kind of peace, a quiet one, not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like the ocean returning to stillness. So if you still feel that quiet longing, that sense that something is missing, do not rush to silence it. Do not push it away. It may be the very thing guiding you home, not the end, the beginning of return, and you are already on the path. Even now, even here, closer than you think. This journey was always meant to return you, not continue endlessly. If you feel like something is still unfolding inside you after this, that is natural. You can sit with it. You can return to the feeling and let it guide you quietly.